Since I was messing around with the rush to the center on this map, I thought I might as well make a video on another rush idea, a fun rush idea, which is rushing through the tunnel. So when it comes to rushing, one of the major obstacles to that is obviously that the bases on this map start with these ground defenses. You have swarms and you have energy weapons, and that's one of the reasons why in the tournament it was kind of more focused on the bigger ships, because smaller ships had a harder time getting through those ground defenses. So some fun ideas to kind of get around that. One idea would be to rush past the ground defenses, because if you're past like the last base, most of these ground defenses, the way they're set up initially anyway, can only really fire forward, like straight up and forward. So if you're behind the last base and you have weapons facing their bases, that can be pretty devastating if you can get that up at a good timing, and ideally your whole team would do it, because that's kind of an all or nothing rush. If you had all three ships over there doing that, that could be pretty devastating. And if they don't see it coming, their only defense would be to get ships up with weapons that can hit you. And usually they want to have weapons facing that side, because you usually build your weapons forward. So if you can surprise them with it, that'd be pretty interesting. This idea is using the tunnel staying in the tunnel to protect you from those ground defenses, because a lot of times when you come over in the tunnel, as soon as you pop up to try to take shots on them, they're just like waiting there with the swarms and the energy weapons. So I'm going to try this with mortars, to stay in the tunnel but arc these shots onto their bases. You can see here one of the hardest parts about these mortars is that since the mortars are on top above the balloons, it's pretty unstable, and I'm dangling these weights down here to try to lower that center of mass and keep everything stable. But it really wants to kind of flip over and bob back and forth. One of the things you could do about that, I probably could have had like 2 air brakes, left and right, instead of just one in the center, and that would probably slow down that rotation. You could also build this ship wider straight from the beginning, so instead of having to like add this on while it's all bobbing around, you just start with it this wide. Obviously that takes longer to get that ship out and over through the tunnel, but it might be worth it. So if there's one situation where mortars would work in this mod, this is probably it. One of the reasons they normally don't work is because it's so easy to get anti-air, but keeping the mortars low like this, and I could even go a little lower, and arcing these just over that kind of ridge there, could protect these mortars from that anti-air, just enough to kind of get a quick elimination and turn the tide of the game. Obviously these mortars are vulnerable if they have ships up from fire coming from above, but I mean, it's a rush, so you're gonna have vulnerabilities, but hopefully you can just get that first base eliminated and turn the tide for your team.